We're back. We're back. We're back. I don't need to do that. So today we're talking about divorce. I talked about it in the other video, but I think I was a bit rough and people just didn't stay and didn't like it. And I also realized it might be also a sore thing and it might hit home too close for people. And I'm still going to put this video out. This is very important. I know that it's important. I tend to be 10 to 15 years ahead of society in seeing things. I've been trying to slow myself down and be a little bit more with the people and not criticize people for walking around like sleepwalking zombies. So I'm not going to judge myself for being ahead of the curve. And I'm not going to necessarily judge people for not being caught up. But I will continue to put this message out so that those who are ready and those who are caught up will align and will be able to work together. So I'm going to address a social crisis. I already put a divorce video out, and it was a little bit more disjointed. I realized that there are more pieces to the puzzle that I want to add. So there's some ethnic things that need to be considered, like what's the ideal ethnicity to marry? If you want long-term outcomes, if you want long-term positive outcomes, what is the, and you can look at this across the board. And I know we're going to get into that. So I'm going to go through some statistics. People always like go to sleep with statistics. And since nobody's here, I'm just going to go over these. I'm going to try and keep it less than 2 or 3 minutes here. Divorce absolutely destroys society. It actually leads to the death of many men who self-delete. I hate using kindergarten terminology, but YouTube is just run by kindergarten thinkers. So that's just what happens. So yeah, men kill themselves. It's called suicide. I don't care if I get deleted for this. We're going to go for it. Divorce kills. All right. It's destructive and it's really deadly, not only to individuals, but to society. So how do we prevent it and end it today? How do you, if you are in the process of divorce, do the best you can? I'm not going to go into that because I'm not a lawyer, but I will give you some tips that you can use to get yourself to the other side of children, potentially, and just be fine. Okay. So anyway, Christian divorce is kind of the main thing here. Christianity in the civilized world is under attack because marriage is under attack. Marriage is being destroyed. And as a result, children grow up in traumatized situations. Men and women are negatively affected, and it just leads to an overall destruction of society and destruction of the world. Christians, real quick statistics. I looked at studies from 2008 to 2023. Overall, is about a 50%, 51% divorce rate, and that is increasing. Okay, the CDC, the Pew Research Group, and Baylor University put out studies that looked at divorce according to religion, and the highest divorce rate is among evangelical Christians. Evangelical Protestant Christians, they're about 28%. That's the highest of all the groups. The LDS is about 7%. Jehovah's Witnesses is about 12%. Non-religious people are about 11%. These are all pretty low. The thing is, this is 12%, 11%, and 7% for those populations, for people who responded to the study. So this does not mean that 7% of LDS out there are divorcing. It doesn't mean that 28% of all Christians are divorcing. It just means that the respondents in that study, that was the highest. So evangelical Christians tend to respond to these studies, and evangelical Christians make up 44% of the United States population. So that's just how it goes. Catholics are about 19% divorce rate. So they're almost, they're much less than evangelical Christians. It is alarming how many evangelical Christians are divorcing, and there are causes. But before we get into the causes, let's get into the chat real quick. Guys, if you're in here, drop some likes if this serves you. If not, please go somewhere else. Thank you. All right. Titanic and Carpathia and Britannic and Olympic redacted their message. Okay. Timon. Hi. Hello, Timon. Welcome. Jin Delape. Or Delape. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. So there are 5 causes that studies have shown that lead to divorce among Christians. I'm speaking to Christians here, geopolitical Christian. This is a geopolitical Christian lens, not talking to Muslims or Hindus or atheists or anything like that. First of all, the standards have changed. In the 1930s and 40s, Love was not a basis of marriage. Women's lib was not a thing. Feminism wasn't a thing. The church wasn't gynocentric like it is now. And so standards have changed and divorce has increased. External pressures, such as affairs, mistresses, these sorts of things, not mistresses, but affairs, have actually increased divorces. The biblical how people are interpreting the Bible has increased divorces. Incompatibility, duh. If you marry a person that you're not compatible with, you're going to get divorced. That's happening more since 1930s. And of course, money issues. In the early 20th century, people didn't have the money issues they have now. People are poorer now than they were 100 years ago, as far as their life stuff. They have less, they have more money now, but less wealth. All right. And then, of course, the sixth thing is brought up by GPC is the gynocentric lens on society and the church, which puts women on a pedestal, puts female sexuality on a pedestal, which actually destroys humanity. Okay. So before we talked about this causes, let's look at the chat because people get into the chat. And make sure you drop likes. I do not see likes, so get out of here if you're not liking the video. You don't need to watch this. Just go somewhere else. All right. I have no patience for people today, and I love that I am impatient today. Good. People left. All right. So let's get in the chat, and then we'll do solutions. Welcome to live chat. Remember to guard your privacy and abide by our community guidelines. Okay, I didn't put that there, but YouTube's putting it there, so be it. The one person in the chat, thank you for staying. Drop a like. All right, so there are solutions. There are solutions, according to the studies, that for Christians that actually had long-standing marriages. So Christians that actually had long-standing marriages had a couple of solutions. They had real faith. They weren't just saying they were Christians. They were actually regularly attending church. They were praying together as a family. They were reading the Bible together, and they were actually practicing the Christian faith. Overall, what we can understand is the solution that leads to compatibility. Reading the Bible together, praying together, going to church together regularly indicated spiritual, social, emotional, and I guess practical compatibility. I can't read my writing there. Okay. So this is the main solution here is compatibility. And when we talk about the geopolitical Christian solutions to marriage, divorce, these sorts of divorce, high rates of divorce, we're going to see that it's all about compatibility. It's all about like just using your brain. In society and in churches, in groups and organizations, we are encouraged to turn our brains off. Here, the difficult thing that I do is encourage people to actually use their brains. Like, I know it seems easy and simple, like just turn your brain on, but it's so rare. So few people do it. And so, but turning on your brain requires courage. It requires you to be wrong sometimes. It requires you to go against the grain of the group. And so that can be very scary. So look, it takes a lot of courage to be an intelligent individual. And so look, it happens. Like you get instances like what I'm dealing with right now. Nobody's watching this video, but this is really important to me. And it's more important than the likes and the views. So again, like I said in the last video, I'm going to put it out there. And I'm not going to be patient with people today. So that just is what it is. So talking of solutions, I'm going to take a different look here. Ethnicity does matter when it comes to marriage and divorce. And when I get into the solutions later on, I think I'm going to cover this. We'll cover this at the end. We'll cover that at the end. Ethnicity matters because there's certain ethnic groups that just do marriage better. And there's a reason they do marriage better. We need to pay attention to what they're doing that the rest of us are not doing. And it'll be simple. It's not rocket science, people. Like if someone's growing a garden and you notice that they water at certain times of the day, you probably should emulate that if they're doing better than you, right? It doesn't, not rocket science. And I get it. Look, we're all individuals and we all have our own paths. And, just following someone else blindly is annoying. And sometimes, even if they're doing better, you may not want to follow their way of doing because it's more of an impediment to your happiness. So, look, I get it. I get it. We don't all have to do the same thing. And sometimes you just have to deal with the shit that you're dealing with because you're making your decisions. It's just what it is. So, the geopolitical Christian solutions or solutions to divorce are as follows. The first four are preventative measures. Now, if you're a young person and you're watching this and you're dating someone and you're just like, all you're doing is dating because you're horny and lonely, Um, you know, perhaps if you can, please just find something else in your life that like fulfills you, like maybe music or art or coding or starting your own business or selling products. Like, get out there, especially if you're a male. Like, you can't coast through life as a dude. As a female, you can. The prettier you are, the easier it is for you to coast through life. Okay, because as a female, you can just be born attractive and marry a billionaire, and you're done. You're good for life. Like, I mean, unless your mouth is like a pain in the ass, then you're not going to go anywhere. But like, if you can like refine your presentation as a female and become a woman, then you don't have to really do much outside of that. If you want a fulfilling life, obviously you have to develop a career and maybe not a career, but like a passion in life, an enthusiasm for life. But as a man, you've got to you've got to have something to bring to the table. So you do not have the luxury of just waking up one morning and walking out and everything just being handed to you. That's not the way it is. And we have to respect that as men. We have to grind, we have to do things differently. So if that hurts you and it challenges you, then unsubscribe, don't watch, go somewhere else. All right. Now, you don't have to suffer through life, but you do have to find your path and you have to have some value and bring value to the world. If you don't, you know, you start to get those feelings, and those feelings are consistent with not being valuable. All right. So, the 4 preventative measures for divorce is number one, first and foremost, is rational selfishness. Females do this better than males, so I don't really have to talk to females and girls and women because they get this a little bit better. They're kind of, because our society has become gynocentric, they are being encouraged to be a little more selfish and a little more self-caring, and rationally so. Women tend to be more rational. That's just how they're designed. Men are more logical, women are more rational. So, for if you're a young man, you've got to be very, very careful in your selection of a mate. Know your goals and desires. Know where you want to be in 5, 10, 20, 30, and 50 years. Like, understand that. Know where you want to be. And then ask yourself, is the female, the woman, the girl, the lady that I am with an impediment to that, an obstacle to that, a support to that? Is she empowering and enriching that? Do I feel inspired to go out there and get it and bring home the bacon or bring home whatever the veggie meat, whatever you eat, right, for her? Or does she drain my resources, drain my emotions, drain my spirit? Does she tear me down? Does she tell me my dreams aren't worth it? Because if she is that kind of a person, then you need to find someone else, because guaranteed your children will add to that, because they're going to take on her mindset and tell you that your dreams aren't shit and you shouldn't go anywhere. And you're going to just live a life of absolute torment and suffering. The second preventative measure in ending the divorce crisis is arranged marriages. That means elders, family members, your society, your community are involved in selecting a mate for you. They know her bullshit. They know his bullshit. They know what kind of person that is behind the veil. You can lie to each other when you're young, dumb, and full of cum, but your parents know who you are for the most part. Her parents know who she is, or his parents know who he is, depending on you're a woman or man, a female or a male. And so they can see through the bullshit. The older members in society can look at you and say, you're a good match, she's a good match, that sort of a thing. And so they can help identify the best partner, the best match for you. And in selecting 5 to 10 different options, they're going to be able to say, you're going to be able to say, yeah, okay, I like this one more, I like that one more, I don't like her, I like her sister, or whatever. And over time, you are going to be able to pick someone that's actually going to be compatible for your overall goals in life. Okay. The third solution that's going to end divorce, is going to save society, save the world, save humanity, is choosing, okay, removing love from your top 10 reasons for marriage. The way I wrote that was weird. Remove love from your top 10 reasons for marriage. Now, if you are choosing a mate based solely on love, you are doomed to a failed marriage in a very short period of time. And this is evidence, like, okay, you got a doctorate, know how to read data. The thing about studies is they give you this explicit view. They don't always have a qualitative explanation. So they give you the methodology, the extract, all these other things, and you go through, and then they give you like the raw data, and then this is what it was, and this is our conclusion, this is what we found, this is our findings. But they don't always do a qualitative look. And if you look at marriage from the beginning of the 20th century until the 21st century, you'll notice that there is a social norm increasing love, marriage based on love. And this started in about the 30s or 40s when Hollywood and music started to promote this idea of we're going to get married because we're in love. We're going to get married because we're in love. And instead of love being one of the top 10 things that you use for marriage selection, it became one of the top 5. It actually became one of the top 3. And that has led to a steady increase in divorce. And you see people now marrying for love, and then after the love is gone, which love does do that, right? If you live long enough, you stop loving the person the way you did when you met them, the way you did when you were dating them. And the truth is it wasn't love when you met them. Love at first sight. It's actually lust at first sight. Her pheromones are at a certain place. Yours are at a certain place. You're picking up on those unconscious cues. She reminds you of something from your childhood, whatever. It's an unconscious animal desire that drives that love at first sight. In the case of people like Candace Owens or Patrick Bet-David or some others who've chosen partners who seem to be more aligned with what I'm talking about here, there's something higher minded that's driving their marriage. It's like God is speaking to them and saying, that's your person, that's your lady, that's your man. Okay. So when you're choosing based on love, you have to be very careful because love is usually coming from the lower parts of your body. It's not coming from your higher part, your heart or your spirit, or your connection to God the Father. So choosing marriage based on love is one of the top reasons that divorce happens. And that's been promoted by Hollywood. So you got to be careful. Where is this love for marriage coming from? It's coming from Hollywood. It's coming from the music industry. And these things have destroyed children. They destroyed men. They destroyed women. They destroyed society and marriages and entire families. So be very careful of that. So remove love from your top 10, top 5. If it's part of the top 10 reasons, then great. So I'll give you some example reasons to marry. Compatibility, communication styles, shared interests. You actually like being around each other. Not love. I mean, like being around each other. Like that's 4 right there. Attraction, obviously. Those 5 are probably really important. And then you have things like religious or spiritual compatibility. You guys share the same God, share the same relationship with God. Community compatibility. Your friends and her friends are consistent. You know, if her friends don't like you and your friends, I guarantee you, unless she drops those friends, she's going to leave you. She's going to treat you like that. And this is true for dating. You know, I would say if you're dating a girl and you don't get along with her friends, stop dating her. Don't lead yourself down that road because a woman's connection to her sisterhood is very important. A man's connection to the brotherhood is very important. And if the sisterhood and brotherhood don't get along, that's like Romeo and Juliet. They deserve to die. They shouldn't have. They shouldn't have been together. They should have gotten with people that they were more compatible with. They were just lustful. That story ended the way it should have ended. Good job, Shakespeare. Good job. So that's to show you that if you base your a marriage or your sacred union on just love, which is a code word for lust, then you're not going to go anywhere. It's going to end in terrible suffering and pain. Okay. The 4th solution to this pandemic, this crisis of divorce, is age disparity. What does that mean? Older men marrying younger women. Why is that so important? Why would you want some old man marry some young woman? I'm not saying a geriatric marrying a pediatric. Come on. We're not talking about a 6-year-old marrying an 18-year-old, 60-year-old marrying an 18-year-old. We're talking about, as the Muslims say, the Muslims are really smarter at this than the Christians. They say half your age plus 7. Now, if you think about that, just do the math on that on any age, and you'll see, oh, that makes sense. So that's why you shouldn't marry as a man under the age of 30. You should marry 30 and above or 35 and above. Because men can produce healthy children up until 80, 90 years old. You can produce very healthy children in your 90s. if you're a virile man who works out and takes care of his body. A woman can't do that. A woman starts to taper out around 30, 35, depending on the ethnicity. So age disparity is very important. So like, what does a 30 or 40-year-old man, for the two people that are in the chat, what does an older man have to offer a younger woman that a younger man cannot offer a younger woman? If you can tell me in the chat, let me know. And I will continue talking about this. So having an older man, okay, nobody's responding, so I'll just say it. Older men have things that the main thing that younger men don't have. They have social standing, they have maturity, they have wisdom, and they have money. These are four very important things. If you don't have these four things as a man, do not start a family. Do not start a family. Do not start a family without money, without social standing, meaning a brotherhood that you can check in with, people you can trust, and without maturity to deal with kids screaming and losing their shit, right? And without money. If you do not have money, do not bring children into the world, please. Everybody that's doing this is weakening society. Look, I did it. I love my kids, and they're the best part of the marriage debacle that I went through. But at the end of the day, I can tell you, if I had resources, I definitely would have signed a prenup, and I definitely would have been more at peace in some of the financial challenges that came up. So what does an older man offer a younger woman? All four of these: money, social standing, maturity, wisdom, and those things. Now, the younger woman, what she offers to an older man is healthy babies. Healthy babies. Older men have taken all this time to build themselves, to build their wealth, to build their social standing, their reputation, these sorts of things. They also are smarter about picking women. Another thing is that younger women are going to look up to older men. They're going to naturally respect older men. They're going to naturally admire older men. Now, you have a lot of these young feminist girls are like, oh no, I want a man my age, whatever. Hey, JRA, stability, wisdom. There you go. Thank you for answering, JRA. I didn't see your answer there. Absolutely right. Stability and wisdom. That's what women really, really need that. You know, you have I can't tell you how many women I've met that were frustrated by men. Women communicated this to me, where they were frustrated by men who didn't know, they couldn't find their ass with both hands tied behind their back. Sorry, the noise. Most young men are young, dumb, full of cum. They need to get that out of their system. I needed to do that before I got married. You know, you ask where my relationship status is. I have taken time to step away from relationships, step away from gynophilic, mind numbing, and to really check in with myself. Journaling every day, praying every day, meditating every day, working every day, building my business every day. And I've taken time to think, like, where did I mess up? What solutions could I have had? And all of a sudden, this is where this is coming from. Uh, and I realized, and I of course did research studies on this and talked to people across the spectrum, and said, what led to the suffering that a lot of people have that leads to divorce and things like that. And I kind of got off on a tangent, so let me get back. There's a solution here. But younger men don't have the ability to be level-headed when a woman mouths off. Like when a woman goes off and goes insane, blah, 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 and starts doing all this stuff, younger men get emotional. They're still feminine. And in Maasai culture, one of the things that I heard or read was that a man is not supposed to marry until after he's 30. Like 30 or 35, 33 or something like that. And that's because if you put a young man in a hut with a young woman, a woman will mouth off. Women can be very cruel with their words. And men, all they know is physicality. They don't have the resources to combat a woman verbally unless they're gay, right? And so what happens is a man uses the tools that he has, which is violence. And the violence in a man is very important. That's what protects the community. It protects children. It keeps the community safe. But you can't use that when a woman is mouthing off and destroying your dreams and tearing you down and telling you you're a worthless piece of shit and echoing the thoughts in your head, because that's what women have the ability to do. They find your deepest, darkest fears and then they just blast your face with it. And so men don't have are outgunned. They don't have resources to deal with that. And so what happens is a man in his younger, immature state will use violence and try to combat a woman that way. And that is absolutely unacceptable. And so a mature man who's been through it, he's been challenged, he's faced life, he's been through the fire. When a woman does that, he does like my great grandfather would do, who had 600 acres, 1,000 acres back in Alabama. And he would just, oh, she's mouthing off. She's being crazy. All right. All right, Shelly. Oh, his name was Shelly. Her name, I forgot her name because I didn't know her. He would just walk off into his farm and just walk for days, for like a day or two, and just come back. And he would come back as cool as a cucumber because he was an older man. He had maturity, he had wisdom. And imagine if children saw that more than, hey, bitch, fuck you, and the fights and throwing things and going through all this stuff. Like, imagine if kids saw that instead, where it's like a woman mouths off and a man stays in his masculine frame. Young men don't have that ability. They just don't. They're young, dumb, full of cum. All right. It took me time to build myself out. This is JRA saying, it took me time to build myself out of my youth into the man I became. And when I did, I found my wife. Hey, not a girlfriend. Woo! Amen. I knew what I wanted and became very selective. This is huge. JRA, beautiful. And I can guarantee you, of course, you're going to have challenges. This is just two people coming together. It's part of being human. But the challenges that JRA will face are minute compared to the challenges that someone who is a young man who wants to rebel against society. His parents tell him don't marry this broad, and he's just like, I'm in love with her. We're gonna go start our family. And then he's broke and he has no money and he's just doesn't know himself, doesn't know his goals. He's working at McDonald's, his life's falling apart, and he perpetuates a cycle of suffering, right? So JRA, good on you. Great job. And this JRA is presenting an example of how to actually select a wife. How to actually select a wife if you're a man. Now, if you're a woman, it's going to be a different set of rules, but the general principles for preventing divorce apply. If you're a woman, we're still on number 4, age disparity matters. Do marry young. If you're a girl, if you're a lady, if you're a female, marry young if you want to have kids. If you don't want to have kids, marry when you're a spinster, 4 years, 5 years, 50 years old, whatever. But if you're a woman and you marry young, especially if you're from specific ethnicities, which I'll talk about at the end, because some ethnicities, they have a higher rate of having to use in vitro fertilization, and they need all kinds of magic and potions and oceans and potions to get them to have a baby because they're married, because they're having a baby after 30. Don't do that. If you're a woman, get yourself together femininely and marry young. Marry in your 20s so you can have babies in your 20s. Don't do it in your 30s because you will be screwed. Women have a shelf life. And men's shelf life is reverse and opposite. Anyway, age disparity is important. Younger women have healthier babies. Older men have more money, stability, wisdom, and maturity. So that's age disparity will help to end a lot of divorce. Very rarely is a young, attractive woman who now has 2 or 3 kids and a man with plenty of money gonna leave a man who went and had a little fling. Oh, I went to Brazil and had a fling, or I was in Thailand and had a fling. Oops. Okay, well, we've got money. The kids are happy. They don't know about the fling. I'm gonna let it go. You know how many rich wives have just stayed with men who had little mistresses and side pieces and were happy? I can tell you, men back in the day used to constantly have mistresses. And this takes us into, actually, that takes us into number 7, but I'll talk about that later. Okay. So anyway, so those are the 4 ways to prevent divorce. Okay. Which is rational selfishness. Choose the right person based on your goals and your intentions. Arranged marriages. Check in with your elders, with your mentors. Let them meet the girl that you're talking to, the guy that you're talking to. If they love you and they've known you for years and they don't like the person you brought, drop them. Love them. Have sex with them for the last time if you're doing the fornication thing, and move on with your life. Trust me, 30, 40 years of suffering is not worth that little side piece. Okay? Then 3, choose, remove love from the top 5 reasons to marry someone. Make compatibility first, spiritual compatibility, communication style, shared likes, shared community. Make those first. Shared goals, that's 6. Like, put love as the top 10, not the top 5. Okay. And then, of course, age disparity. You want older men marrying younger women if children are desired in the relationship, because that provides more stability and sanctity. All right. JRA has a complete. I'm 9 years older than my beautiful God. hitting it out of the park here, JRA. 9 years older than my wife. I was 30 and she was 21. Beautiful. We met and got married within a year, 2 kids later. We are great together and strive to be godly examples to our kids. God bless you, JRA. JRA. You did it right. JRA is a living example. And by the way, my sister did it right too. Her husband is, I think, 9 years the same. It's like a 9 or 10 year gap between them. And they have multiple children. And of course, their marriage is not perfect. It's not without road bumps, but they are together. And you can tell they like each other and love each other. And of course, they get their arguments. That's part of being human. But look, marriage is difficult enough as it is. It's challenging enough as it is, but it is blessed. It is sacred. It is so important. If marriage falls apart, society falls apart. Children are endangered. They are exposed to divorce, to abuse, to molestation, to the state coming in and destroying their minds and their bodies. So, we owe it to our children. That was one of the greatest failures that I did. Was I married at the age that I did? And I owe it to my children to make up for that. And it's a challenging thing. And look, am I an example of how you should do it? No, but I have done it the wrong way, and I can tell you how to do it right. I can tell you. Okay, I lost my thing because I'm getting calls from people. All right, so JRA, just you hit it out of the park. And a 9 year gap is great. So the Muslims say this, and I think Orthodox Christians would probably say this too. A woman should be half your age plus 7. If you're a man and you listen to this, a woman should be half your age plus 7. Let's say you're, and again, you ideally want to get married just like JRA, like 30 or above. Let's say you're 30, so half your age is 15. Add 7 to that, that's 22. Perfect age for childbearing, marriage, all these things, right? And that's the perfect age for a female. I mean, that's the prime age for having babies, 20 to 28-ish. And then let's say you're 40. Okay, you really grind. You're really grinding. You put the time in. You got the money now, and you have the houses and the not houses, but you have land. You have assets. You have wealthy resources so that you can take care of a family. So half your age is 20 plus 7, 27. That's kind of the end of the age. Let's say you're 42. So it's the same thing, right? It's half your age plus 7. Take that as a general rule. Okay. All right. KB700. Sorry for changing the topic of conversation, but could you share your opinion about the girl who took on 100 men in 24 hours? That was disgusting. Not so much for her because she's a female. She's probably not thinking. But because of all the men that did that. And look, it's just, I didn't want to think about it. By the way, I made a video about it. Check it out on my channel. It's, you'll see it. And just look up, anyway, you'll see the picture of her and me. I did a little, it's like a month or two old. Just go through the videos, you'll see it. But that is just, I think the men are the failure in that situation. The men are the failure. She actually did 1,000 men. It was over 1,000. In 24 hours, and I can tell you she did not look like the same person. Something changed in her. Anyway, I was part of that world at one point, and big failure on my part. But again, I'm not going to judge myself or criticize myself because God pulled me through that so I can be where I am today. So I'm not going to judge myself. I've forgiven myself, and I know that God had me there for a reason. So and I put myself there, right, through my ignorance, but God is good. So, yeah, but check out the video. I did put a video out. She needs prayer because she's broken. JRA says she needs prayer because she's broken in her heart and distant from God. She doesn't understand the truth of who she is in God's eyes. Amen. Amen. She is truly broken. You could see that in the first trial that she did with the 100. She broke down crying. And I couldn't even finish the video. It was a 7-minute video. I couldn't even go through it. I was like, I can't even watch this. I don't even want to look her up online. I don't want nothing to do with that because literally I went to parties where that was encouraged. I actually was approached for that sort of an encounter, and I won't go into details of that now because this is not the forum for that. But I'm the guy that did all the things that you're probably not supposed to do, and I can tell you from my experience, I don't judge myself for it. God brought me through it, but I can see what I needed to learn through that so that I could be a better testimony later on in life. So. Yeah, that's God bless her, and she definitely needs prayer, y'all. Keep her in your thoughts and prayers, and hopefully she comes out through it. Like, look, she can be one of the greatest witnesses at the end of it all. She can be a testimony to God's salvation and saving grace. And she can come through that and be like, you know what? I destroyed my body, I destroyed my mind. I learned things in that hell that I can teach people who never went through that, or I can teach that people who never went through that can't teach. So there are things that she can tell people that women who were virtuous can never tell people. And so she can be a greater witness, just like Paul. Paul killed more Christians than anybody else who wrote in the Bible. And guess what? He's the one that crafted all of the New Testament outside of the Gospels and certain epistles. So she can be one of the greatest witnesses for Christ. So keep praying your prayers. Bryn Chong, bro, how do you know that you know that you know? I don't know that I know that I know. I just have a life and experience in a presentation, and if it works, if it um, if it aligns, if it resonates, the whole point is to share something that will serve others in a positive way. If it doesn't, that's why I always tell people, if this does not work for you, leave. I mean, I will have videos that will have 0 people and I still keep going because I know at some point someone's going to watch it and they're going to be like, that speaks to my situation. God sees me. I don't have to feel alone. Like, yeah, there's 0 people watching now. So I'm going to keep going. So that's how I know that I just share what is working for me now, or the best that I can with what I got. All right. So we talked about the preventative measures to prevent divorce. Okay. And like I said, rational selfishness, arranged marriages, removing love from the top 10 reasons to marry, and age disparity. Older men to younger women. Okay. Excuse me. We're going to go through the last 3. And these are important for if you're already in marriage and it's not necessarily working out, it's not working out well. All right. And that is the 3 are this. In order for marriage to be consistent and last a longer time, we have to honor male and female natures. Women are naturally hypergamous, men are hyperandrous. Nobody talks about that, but women are hypergamous. Males are polygamous, typically. Not all women are hypergamous. Not all men are polygamous, but generally, men and women are these ways. Okay, 90% of women are hypergamous, and it's a fake statistic because I haven't seen the statistics on it. And 90% of males are polygynous or polygamous or polygamous. Either word works. And so we have to honor that. We have to respect that. And to demonize a woman for being for being hypergamous is to demonize a snake for having venom. To demonize a man for having proclivities where he has a wife, he has kids, he loves them, and then he has a mistress, and then to demonize him for that is demonizing a lion for eating gazelles. That's their nature. That's how God's designed us. Okay. Christians don't always talk about this, but the Orthodox Christians at least acknowledge this. The Gnostic Christians acknowledge this. What Adam had multiple wives. Okay, 2. The Jews know this, and again, old Christians know this. But Adam had more than one wife. He had Eve, who was the better wife, and then he had Lilith. Lilith was cast out of the garden because she was crazy. So she's the perfect prostitute, whore, harlot, and she is the patron saints of harlots and whores and prostitutes and pagan women, right? But Eve was the ideal wife. She gave Adam children and all that other stuff, right? And so when we honor the fact that women are hypergamous, we make sure that in a society and culture, we are matching our daughters with men that are better than them, meaning further along than they are. If a woman has goals, like my goals are to do ABC, she needs to be matched with a man that is here, meaning he is able to help her reach those goals because he's already achieved a certain level of success. And with men, it's hyperandry or polygamy. You need to match a man with a woman that understands, okay, if he has married me and we have a great married life and we have kids and we have a family and he's doing his job as a man and he happens to have a couple of flings through that marriage, I'm not going to be an idiot and leave him because he had sex with some woman out in Brazil or in Thailand or in Switzerland. He doesn't even remember her name on a business trip. He doesn't even care about it. It was a one night fling or it was a little thing. Or even he has a side chick, a mistress. As long as he's not jeopardizing the future of your children and your reputation as a family, leave that shit alone because he's dedicated to you. And so that's where it is. Like, we have to understand and respect the natures of men and women. And men have to respect that women are hypergamous. And so you have to always be on your game as a man. You have to be the best man that you can be so that you can always shine as best as you can. And obviously, you're not always going to be perfect. There's going to be down days. There's going to be down years. It's okay. Just like a woman, uh, she might get a little upset that you had a fling in Switzerland because she knows those are your type of women or whatever. It's okay. We've got to forgive and love and understand these things. But you have to put the family first, and you have to put your goals first. Like if you're a man and your mistress starts trying to act like, oh, I'm going to be your wife now, you need to put her back in her place and say, listen, I have children with my wife. You're the side piece. That's where you belong. You're never going to be my wife because I have children with her. I had to tell her because I had a side piece. And I had to tell her, look, I mean, I wasn't having sex with my wife at the time. I was divorced now. But I was telling her, look, my kids are before you. And my relationship with my children comes before you. And yes, the sex is great. And it's so encouraging to be with. I love you and all this stuff. But my children come first. You are the one on the side. I was not as explicit as I could. As I was explicit toward the end, and I ended up not talking to her anymore. But she was amazing in a lot of ways. But like as men and as women, we have to respect each other's natures. And so if a man is in a relationship and you are a side piece woman, you have to understand that his family comes first, and you have to not get in the way of that. Because in so doing, you are a terrorist to society. Same with a man. If your wife loves you and has got your back and is helping to raise your kids and is building an amazing home, and you start slipping and you get lazy and you lose your edge, you're not working out, you're not taking care of your body, you're not taking care of your mind, you're not spiritually on point with God, and she starts looking at other men that are better than you cannot judge her for that. You have to say, you know what, I got to pull my shit together. And you get back in the gym, get back in the Bible, get back in the scripture, get back with your brotherhood, top yourself off, man. I mean, like, if you need to get a woman on the side to boost your ego so you can go out there and conquer the world, do it. Your family, your children, society depends on you being the best man that you could possibly be. And so we have to honor each other's natures. This is a long video. I'm realizing each one of these points is another video, so I probably just have to make another video for each one of these points. I'm probably gonna have to just do that. Let me get in the chat. Okay, Bryn, thanks so much for watching. Bryn Chong, thanks for watching. KB700, you're a really good preacher. Thanks for sharing your points of view on that. Thank you, KB700. Bryn Chong, damn, that is some King James shit. Thank you guys, I appreciate it. So the sixth reason, this is going into saving a marriage that's already in place from divorce, is contractual marriages. And I'm talking about real contracts. Not talking about, okay, until death do you part. That's bullshit. If you're in a marriage, you don't have children, a contract is very important. If you do have children, a contract is very important. Because what it does, it gives finiteness to the marriage. And that's very important. When there's finiteness, that takes away some of the pressures, okay? So let's say you just got married. You're 30 years old, she's 21, you're 22, he's 32, whatever, and you guys marry. You say, look, these are our goals. We have similar goals, similar conversation styles, all that other stuff. We're compatible, okay? But for 2 years, we're not going to have children, and we're gonna do this marriage thing, and let's see what happens. At the end of the 2 years, we're going to decide whether or not we renew the contract, okay? And I know that can be difficult for some people, and I get it. You sometimes when you get in it and you're in it to win it, you're in it till death do you part, then you really put all your all into it. But putting a 2-year cap on it with no children and say this is a 2-year contractual agreement, that allows you guys to develop patterns of respect, develop patterns of compatibility. And then over time you say, you know what, this is working, or you know what, it was too much destructive to my ultimate goals and my purpose in life to maintain this 2-year contract. I'm choosing to end this contract and start again. Now for women, that's a lot, because you're already 24 if you started at 22. The clock is ticking. So that caused you to make some very difficult decisions. So contractual marriages that are 2-year contract, when children are born, a 15-year contract, because you never want to leave kids without a stable family, and that sort of a thing. So basically you're putting finiteness on the marriage, which allows to take some pressures off. Okay, that's a potential to prevent divorce. And then the final if you're already in a marriage, is what I talked about earlier, which is ethical prostitution, civilized harlotry, and mistresses. Now, these are all, of course, uh, uh, um, onkos. That's wrong. These are not gynophilic, or excuse me, gynocentric. These are more androcentric. These are man-centered approaches. Ethical prostitution, civilized harlotry, and mistresses help men to outsource sexuality when women have children and are just over it. Like, I'm tired. I don't want to deal with it. I just need you to get off my back. And women don't want to have the pressure of fulfilling their men's sexual desires. Because men, especially ambitious men, tend to have very high sexual desires and sex drives. They want to have, and they're also polygamous or polygamous. And so that means that they want to get out there and they're conquering the world, and they need that flow. You need that energy, And so if mom is building the home and taking care of the kids and killing it on the marriage front, on the family front, and she's tired at the end of the day, genuinely tired at the end of the day, and she only wants to have sex a couple times a week or a couple times a month, and he still has a sex drive. He needs like 3 or 4 times a week, and he's got to get that energy out. Then having a spa where he can go, where he can legally have that thing taken care of, is going to take pressure off. He's going to be more calm. He's going to have all that pent up rage and energy in his body, and he's going to be able to get out there and focus. And I'm like that. I have a very low sex drive because I turned my sex drive off. I did all the sex positivity stuff. I did all the orgies and all this stuff, and in the porn, I only look at this. I don't do any of that stuff anymore because I have absolutely no interest, none whatsoever. Like literally, even the thought of it, like that girl that had sex with all those guys, complete, like, I'm disgusted by it, and so I genuinely don't have any desire for that. And I know I can put myself through very rigorous routines. I can go for goals. I can challenge myself. I can go balls to the wall because I'm unafraid of losing access to sex, losing access to a woman. Women don't distract me. I see that they're attractive, but I don't care about them sexually. And so men who have a mistress or can go to an ethical prostitute or a civilized harlot, um, can get that out of their mind. And so when they come home, they're not like, they can play with their kids. They can take out the trash. They can love their wife authentically and genuinely. They can embrace her without trying to have a lead to the bed, and they can still connect with her in a very romantic way without her feeling the pressure of sex. Because at a certain point, women just are tired of that. They're over it. Okay. And so that's really important. And the reason ethical prostitution, harlotry, and mistresses are real important is because it's not trafficking women. We're not trafficking women, and we're ending the human trafficking pandemic, because human trafficking is a destructive, terrible thing. And when men can, and women as well, but mostly men, can have access to ethical, legal prostitution, harlotry, and mistresses, what happens is they have the ability to destroy the uh, the illegal parlors, the illegal spas, the illegal trafficking of women, the abuses that women experience. And this is women, 99% women, right? From countries like Asian countries, Latin countries, generally, because those are the women that are in these sorts of situations. And so when men can go to legitimate, educated, protected, legal, um, insured, unionized, whatever, harlots, or they can have a mistress like an escort that they see consistently over multiple years, it takes the sexual pressure off of women. It takes sexual pressure out of family situations. So men can be more manly when they're home with their wife and play with the kids and discipline the kids as the wife needs them to, so that she can have more respect from the kids at the home. And so, anyway, I'm going to talk all about ethical prostitution. I have a whole video for that. I went into it on that one. But anyway, so that's what I have to say about that. This video is very long. I know a lot longer than I intended. Let me read the last. Yeah, okay, we got all the comments, and no one's in the group. So thank you guys for watching, those of you did. like this when it goes live, when it goes full. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Those of you who did. And thank you so much for the comments from Bryn Chong, KB700, JRA. Awesome. God bless your marriage. God has blessed your marriage. Thanks for saying hi, Jen. And Timon, thank you for joining up. And then Titanic, really long name, who erased their message. Thanks for joining. All right, guys. God bless you guys. And I will see you in the future.